Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and I don't suck, and neither does the Piffles podcast. But anyone who plays the Riders, they suck. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Let's go, Rider Nation.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Get the feeling now. Get 'em high, get 'em low. 'Cause we're dealing now. Everybody's giving it all they got. 'Cause we're ready.
I'm ready. This is the Piffles podcast, episode 245. Thank you all so much for joining us with your Saskatchewan Roughriders fan podcast, whether you're listening on podcast platform, watching us on YouTube, or on SaskTel Max on demand. Thank you very much. My name is Alex.
I'm Steve.
And I would like to take this time to put put the Greg on Sports Bump behind the name Horny for the Rush. I'm actually currently wearing my Rush hat today. It's either Horny or Rowdy.
I can't believe they're actually going with Horny as one of the options. I really can't. Jeez, that
There's
sounds
no
like a
way
Regina
that
thing.
wins. There's no way that wins. There's no way that wins.
I
But
think they
the fact
actually.
they've carried it this far, it just surprises me.
I think they did that just to have people pay attention this much longer. I really think that's I hope that's the reason why.
Because when they did the berries voting, and the Saskatchewan Berries won, that Cobra Chickens. Once Cobra Chickens dropped off, you could tell the engagement wasn't as much. So I think they kept Horny in there as long as possible, but I don't see it winning.
My Saskatoon Berries hats should be here tomorrow. I'm excited for that. You can give us a follow on X or the Blue Sky as well at Piffles Pod. I'm at Real Alex D.
I'm at Saphamod.
And as always, I do not need nor want your pity follows at Greg on Sports, despite what the eulogy said.
Oh,
I will gladly accept flowers in lieu.
There is going to be a eulogy, a second one. We saw one this past Saturday. We're going to have another one here on the show this week. It's going to be somber, very somber. Piffles podcast is going to put the fun in funeral, though. I'm looking forward to the rest of this episode. We'll remember the good times this year. We're celebrating, guys. It's a good time.
It's a celebration.
That's right.
Was firing Dickey the good times?
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah. Don't get. You're getting way too ahead of ourselves. That's 3 minutes down the road here. We're also
everything
on
before
Facebook.
pumpkin spice season. Everything before pumpkin spice season, like.
Apple crisp fraps are actually the ones to go for, not pumpkin spice. Steve will attest to that, by the way.
Can confirm.
Piffles podcast, of course, brought to you by Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sass Drive in Regina. Go to pifflespodcast.com. Lots of stuff, lots of engagement, especially on Facebook with articles. Really thankful for that. So everyone, thank you for reading the garbage I have to write. As a couple of people have told me that I'm not too bright and this is garbage. So hopefully you enjoy this not bright garbage. But we have so much to talk about and I'm ready for some fun tonight, guys. Let's get to the opening kickoff. All right. So we're going to start with, we'll start with the football game on Saturday. The Riders' final game of the 2023 season, losing, which we kind of all expected, 29-26 to the Argos, dropping the record to 6-12, second straight year, losing 7 to finish the season. Sigh, of course. But you know what? There was positives in that game. The Craig Dickenson giving his own eulogy pregame to the team. I want to start with that. The CFL posted this just after kickoff. His motivational speech before the game to the players in the locker room. It's been an honor and a privilege to coach you guys. Let's go out there one more time with nothing to lose. You had everything to lose. You had the playoffs to lose. What do you mean there's nothing to lose? And I saw that and in the middle of the first quarter, I see this and I'm like, oh my goodness, he really just said goodbye to the team before the game. And I was like, there's no chance that they're actually going to win this. Not one. And ultimately, I was right. But it actually looked like they were going to do really, really well. I know you guys saw his pregame speech, rah, 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 whatever you want to call it. What was your initial thoughts on that, guys?
Well, I initially saw it. I think I was the first one to see it because I saw it immediately because you're right. The CFL posted just as the kickoff was about to begin. And unfortunately, I couldn't make the game because my gallbladder had other plans for me. So as I was sitting in the hospital, I was kind of listening to Luke and the other guy, and I was checking my X, and that showed up. And I'm like, and I sent it to you guys immediately going, what is this? Like this is not a pre-game motivational speech. This is see you guys down the line. Like it was the saddest. Like there was no win one for the Dicker. There was nothing. It was just like, okay, guys, let's do what we got to do, and we can pack our bags tomorrow. We don't have to worry about playoffs. Like he legit sounded like he gave up on playoffs because he did.
The part I hate about that speech was the go out there one more time, as if there was no hope of a game to follow that one. Everything about that speech said, this is it. This is our last game together. This is it. No more football. We'll always have bowling on Sunday, but this is it for the football field. So go out there and play, I guess. This is the speech he should have made at their postseason bowling party.
Like it wasn't even like go out and play hard, like leave nothing on the field. It was there's nothing left to play for, which is completely backwards to what it should be. Like you want them to lay it all on the line so they have a shot at the playoffs and that extra playoff money that I'm sure the players would appreciate. But instead it's like, oh, well, I guess we're not making the playoffs. Calgary kind of fed it to us last week. They're probably going to win again. It was least motivational coach of all time.
But you see the contrast between him and his brother Dave. And when the Stampeders' backs were against the wall, they played an outstanding game against BC, except for the drops to start that game. But they went out and crushed BC in that game. They had everything to play for, and they came out like that. The Riders had everything to play for in this game. And I mean, they did kind of start out that way. The first half was pretty good. They came out with those 3 E's that they were stressing the week before. And there was some good things in that game. Sam Emelis, Sean Bain, both going over 1,000 yards. Jake Dolegala, to start the game, was allowed to push the ball downfield, and we saw big plays happen. And we've been yelling about this for months, since Labor Day. Let Jake cook.
I even said it.
You even said that. That's right.
That's how you can tell I was on very good meds at the hospital.
But like, they were moving the ball and they were controlling the better part of that game. And then once they decided to not push the ball in the second half and lean on a run game that was getting 2 yards per carry, it just collapsed after that. And it was a second half collapse again by this team. And I mean, that game was a microcosm of the last 2 seasons. You want to know what the Riders 2022 and 2023 were like? Watch that game. Started out pretty well, had control for the most part, and then just crashed and burned at the end. And that's exactly what happened in the seasons. That's exactly what happened in this game. They blew it to backups, third downs. They couldn't stop Cameron Dukes, and ultimately ended up losing the game. So, I mean,
there's not much more you can say about it. Like they just this team has pieces, and I know we're going to get to it, but obviously coaching has failed them. A lot of those players were not put in the right position where they need to be. And hopefully going forward, we can retain some of those pieces, because that free agent list that came out this week looked pretty scary too. So all we can do is move on to next year at this point.
We could have moved on to next year about 6 weeks ago if we're really being honest with ourselves. This season has been going down the drain even before Labor Day. Those 2 wins, you look back to the Labor Day and the game against BC, near identical to this. They just didn't collapse at the very end. Great first half, crap the bed in the second half, held on for dear life. That's been this season, and honestly, I'm almost thankful it's over because I wasn't looking forward to any potential playoff game going into BC or potentially Winnipeg and trying to even be in a game of that nature. This is almost better. Get our offseason going. We can move on to the decisions that have been made and the ones to come, and we can look ahead to hopefully brighter times.
I don't know if it can get much darker than it is right now.
Ask Ottawa fans about that.
Well, no. Like, as my tenure as a Rider fan, we've had some dark and lean years. Like I told you, I've memento 2011. But for the last 2 seasons especially, there's a darkness in consuming the entire fan base right now that they are going to have to dig themselves through. It's no longer this team is terrible on the field. There's fans getting mad at the general manager, at the team president. Like, it is not a good feeling right now to being a Rider fan. And that's not just the on-field stuff anymore. The on-field stuff, winning solves. It's going to take a lot more than winning to get a lot of these fans to quit being apathetic.
So post-game, Craig Dickenson, I pulled a bunch of his quotes that he said. I'm not going to go through a lot of them just because he's not here anymore. But the one thing that just said that they worked hard in the offseason to get the right guys with the right character, with the right skill set. And he says he thinks they got that. So 2 questions. One, did they? Did they actually get that? Because if they did, I feel they would have won more than 6 games.
They had less meatheads. Like, it wasn't terrible penalties that were killing them as much as it was last year. Last year, I'd argue they had a more talented roster possibly, but they took a lot of really dumb penalties that put them in a lot of bad situations that caused them to drop a lot of those games they shouldn't have. Did they have more character guys? Probably. Unfortunately, coaching didn't put the players in the right positions. Having Micah Tates on a receiver is garbage.
I think absolutely they had the right pieces to at least be more competitive than they were. I think third in the West is about where we should have finished. BC and Winnipeg had the talent to be far above us, but I think we were a better team than our 6-12 record. And I know that whole you're as good as your record is, and we are because of coaching decisions and mistakes. And you can pinpoint 4 or 5 games that coaching decisions lost us the game. And that's the difference between 6-12 and watching the playoffs and 10-8 and getting ready for BC next week. There was a lot of bright pieces that came out of this year. You look at the Sam Emilises, Jaden Dahlke's, there's a lot of good pieces that came that shined bright. And I think a lot of it came back down to, and we've harped on it all year, but it came down to coaching and the good pieces not being in the right places.
The one thing about Craig Dickenson post game is he did say about losing 7 straight in back-to-back seasons, ending the season like that. How much is on you? He said it's all on me. It was a different team, but we didn't win more. They put more emphasis on the O-line, but it didn't translate to wins. So it's a failure. Give us an F on that. That was the first time I feel like I've ever really seen him take onus for the team's losing streaks. So to me, that was actually nice to see because that's what a leader does. And that was the first time, unfortunately, way too late, that I saw him be a leader of this team. But then just saying, well, the people that make decisions will make their decisions, and I respect whatever they're going to do. So you already know you're not coming back, is what that told me. Leaves with no regrets. I question that, but I mean, hindsight, I guess, right?
Hey, no regrets. The check's all cleared.
Yeah.
He got paid.
When asked about a message to the fans, he said, "I appreciate them, and it didn't work out like we wanted either. I wanted to let them know that we did everything we could this year to try and win and give them a product they could be proud of. It didn't turn out the way we hoped, but we're working our tails off to try and win, not only for the guys in the locker room, the city, the organization, and this province. Hopefully they feel like they can be proud of the effort given." And that, to me, was, yep, that's Craig Dickenson just in a nutshell. I hope they were proud. I was proud of the guys. I hope the fans are proud of us. The fans aren't proud of you unless you win. Unfortunately, that's just the way pro sports is. And you can have all the nice players on your team all you want. You can have, a very nice person as a head coach, which is what Craig Dickenson is. He's a great person. But if the effort's not there from top to bottom, which it definitely was not, again, I don't know how you can, as a fan, be proud of that.
I know I've been doing the Ken Miller you get on Wish thing for Dickey for I don't know how long, and I still stand by it. But the more quotes I see from him that you pull for me, the more I think he's basically a dollar store Ted Lasso. Because what is he even talking about here? It's like it's all about hope and hope the guys I'm surprised he didn't say they could be a beta fish instead of a goldfish, because he's just espousing this stuff and none of it actually makes sense if you look at it with just an ounce of skepticism. Because sure, yeah, they're pro players, they're paid to play the game, of course they're working their tails off. If they're not, you cut them and move to the next guy. That's the entire point. You are the coach. You are the person who's supposed to put the players in the best spot to win the games, because you're paid to win games. You're not paid to make men out of them at this point. It just, so,
you can do both, Greg. You can make them better people and win football games. That's a thing that could happen. TV taught me that.
Okay. And apparently Jason, what's his name? Sudeikis can play darts left-handed. I did not realize that until I watched TV too. So what's your point? The fact remains, this is an actual thing said by an actual head coach in an actual league. This is not Apple TV.
It was a constant with him. It was always I'm proud of the guys. I'm proud of the team. There's nothing to be proud of when you lose 14 straight post-Labor Day football games. You should be embarrassed for the team. You should be embarrassed on behalf of the fans and the organization. You should not be proud. There is nothing that these last 2 seasons have done that should make anybody proud of this organization on and off the field. So appreciate the friendly goodbye, but see ya.
Would have almost preferred a middle finger, to be honest. At least there would be some emotion with that. One more note about the game. I do have to say, so I was the only member of us there at the game. I'm not sure how it looked on TV because I haven't even bothered to go back and watch the highlights, because why? Tickets distributed, they announced, was just over 24,000. Scanned was less than 17,000. So a couple takeaways on that.
I sold my tickets. When I realized that I wasn't making the game, I put my tickets up at face value and someone actually bought my tickets. All 4 of them. I couldn't believe it. I thought there's no way. I thought they were just, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try. I couldn't believe it.
Damn, I kind of regret not putting mine up there now, because we just kind of said there's tickets available everywhere. Nobody's talking about going.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't go. I was in Lethbridge. My seatmate couldn't go. He was feeling sick. So we just let the tickets die. And you're telling me I could have made $100?
Apparently. Yeah.
Well, that'll learn me.
So there was 7,000 tickets that were distributed, whether that was given away or sold, for people that didn't show up. So 7,000 people that normally do show up did not show up. I hope Craig Reynolds really, really took exception to that, because that speaks volumes. That's the only way changes are going to happen, ultimately with this organization, not just a head coach, but more. The fact that there was not even 17,000 people at this game, the lowest attended game since the Roy Shivers era, since I think it was August of 2006, just before he got fired, actually. Like, it was just before he got fired. And like, and it sucks because it was actually a really nice afternoon for football. It was gorgeous outside.
Fan Appreciation Day.
And it still meant something. They had to win. So there was still playoffs on the line. And the fact that many people still didn't give a crap is, I hope the board of directors and all the upper management was paying attention to that, because that's, like I said, that speaks volumes.
I know we're going to talk about it in a minute with the press conference that came later, but nothing I heard from Craig Reynolds makes me believe he saw what happened on Saturday afternoon. Not a single thing. I don't think they're going to learn a thing from this season. I think it's going to take another season like this before they realize, and it'll be too late. This organization needed, well, we'll get into that in a minute.
Well, let's do that right now. Let's get to Monday morning. So Sunday morning was garbage bag day, and players saying, "Oh, I hope I'm back next year." You hear that from every player. Monday happens, and we get the news that Craig Dickenson will not be retained. His contract's going to expire, and the Riders will need a new head coach. Don't think it was that shocking to anybody. We all kind of expected it.
Exactly what we said was going to happen too.
A lot of people wanted it to happen, and it did. So the immediate question jumps to, what about Jeremy O'Day? Is it just him? Then the Riders sent out a press release saying that O'Day has been extended for 3 years. Or sorry, the extension wasn't even announced in there, like, or how long it was. It just said in the release that he's back for 2024.
But you knew even before that, when they said Craig Reynolds and Jeremy O'Day will be speaking about Craig Dickenson, you knew that meant O'Day was staying.
Yep.
There's no way Reynolds was going to roll O'Day up there to take the slings and arrows and then cut his throat in front of everybody.
Okay, I would have respected the hell out of Craig Reynolds if he did that. Just turn to him, by the way, Jeremy, you're fired. In front of the entire media room.
The old Vince McMahon.
Straight Vinced him. Yep.
Yeah.
That would have been the moment I think Craig Reynolds could have saved my faith in him, is if he would have done that in front of the entire media room. Oh, respect for that.
All right, so let's go with Jeremy O'Day first. 3-year contract. Your guys' initial thoughts on it being a 3-year deal?
It's all it was ever going to be.
It's standard.
Yeah. If you're going to give him the chance to hire the next head coach, you got to give him some leg room so he's not a lame duck GM. We saw what that did last year when we looked for an OC. The guy coming in needs to know O'Day's the guy for his term. And they're going to tie their boats together, and wherever they go, they do it together. So 3 years was always going to happen if they kept him.
Agreed. You can't give him a 1 or 2 year, because that's definitely going to limit your coaching decisions. You're going to end up with a guy probably looking for his first coaching gig that is just hoping to go in. You're not going to get the established names that they're supposedly interested in, or the high up names that are looking for their first coaching gig. You're going to end up with another Dickey at that point.
Did you guys want the house to be cleared? Did you want all 3 of them, or even 2 of the 3 gone? Because I'm seeing a lot of comments that saying that it was not enough. And I asked the question, was it enough? And people are saying, no, it wasn't. It should have been blown up top to bottom. And the more I thought about it, the more I tend to agree, only in the sense that, I'm perfectly okay with Jeremy O'Day sticking around for 3 years. I do think he's brought in some very good talent. I think it was misused. His Canadian drafts have been excellent. He's brought in some good free agents. Look at the receivers he's brought in. Could hit a little bit better on the O-line in free agency, but whatever on that. They keep building towards that. Let's get that O-line there. He brought the quarterback in. He's done some good things. But at the same time, he does have to wear the stink of 2 straight 6-12 seasons and collapsing as well. And watching his press conference, I just felt like when he was, especially, apologizing to Rider fans, there was no sincerity there whatsoever. And the same thing with Craig Reynolds, actually. I didn't feel like there was anything. They're like, yeah, we're disappointed, but we're going to work hard that you guys can be proud of us again. What? Like, no, you guys should be angry that we put together some really good teams and this is what happened. And this is not going to happen again. Show some fire, show some intensity here. And there's still nothing. So at that point, that still shows to me that the whole organization needs a culture change from top to bottom, not just another scapegoat here with Craig Dickenson. Just the same as it was last year with Jason Moss and Cody Fajardo. There's much bigger issues with this team from the top going down. And I just don't think until something like that happens or something changes there that we're going to see much difference in this team. We might have a few more wins, but I just can't see them being any more than just an average team for a while.
The big thing that this organization needs to remember is they're no longer the Rough Riders of the Hobson era. Rider Nation was where players wanted to play. Fans filled the stadiums. Fans would buy anything with the logo on it. No questions asked. Didn't matter the markup. This organization no longer carries that swagger. But from what I've been hearing, they act like it is. And it's having issues with signing some free agents, with bringing people in from the coaching staff. They have, it's an ego. It's an ego thing. They think they are still that Rider team from 2007 to 2013. And they think that still carries sway. It doesn't. You have 2 losing seasons in a row. You had a lame duck head coach, you had a lame duck GM. And you need to start realizing the Riders aren't the so-called cream of the crop in the CFL anymore. Your attendance is down. Your sales are down. You're still making money, but you're not making as much money as you should be. And I don't think they realize it that way.
For me, I'm very much on the train that Craig Reynolds has to go. And if 17,000 butts in the seats on Saturday in a must-win game doesn't light a fire under his butt over this offseason, I don't know what will. Because that's the moment that this organization as a whole should look at and go, we're in trouble. Because that's a game that we sell out. That's a game that should be packed. And we look at that stadium and it's half full. And even the ones that are there couldn't really have cared much less. Like, it was just, there was no atmosphere in that stadium. There was no desire to be there. And this combined with all of the issues with the ticket invoices going out and the prices going up and no real announcement, but no, they're not actually going up. And it just seems like this organization doesn't have that community feel that it once did. There's no player presence out in the market. There's no, Ricky G, the person that we tailgate with, mentioned, you should have Gainer at, your supermarket, at basically every event you can find. You should have players all over the province in the off season. This team needs to be front and center province wide. And I know they're not going to be. I have no faith that Reynolds is going to learn anything from Saturday night's debacle. He's going to look at the bottom line and go, hey, we made $4 million last year. I'm doing my job, and, wash his hands of it and go at it again. I'm okay with O'Day staying. Like you, I think he brought in enough talent to give him the opportunity to really hire his first head coach, because he was locked into Dickenson because, well, we've talked about it before with Chris Jones signing all his buddies and then running out the door, right? And when he signed in 2019, I think everybody was happy with Dickenson staying. But now he's got the chance to really put his stamp on the staff along with the players he brings in. And I think giving him that chance is well-deserved. So Craig can go. Jeremy can stay.
The No Craig's Club.
No Craig's Club.
We're not even allowed to have one.
Any Craig
We're allowed to have at least one. You can have
Yeah.
one.
So I guess we do now. Yeah. So this is the No Craig's Club. Question that I have. Jeremy O'Day was told on Sunday morning he was being kept around. He didn't know about Dickenson getting let go until Monday, which to me is okay. Well, who's really pulling the strings here? Clearly not Jeremy O'Day. He doesn't even get to choose that. If it wasn't his call, that's clearly coming from up top, right? Which ultimately it was the right move. It was the move that had to be made. But if he doesn't know about it till the morning of, and then, oh, hey, by the way, we're going to get rid of him. So go tell him, okay? Like, that's just, I don't like that style of dealing with it. To me, that should have been an O'Day call and not a Reynolds call, which is what it appears to be. I don't know. Am I making too much of that?
No,
It-
I agree
it
with you
was-
100%.
It
There's
should be
no
100% a
reason-
call.
There's no reason the GM shouldn't be making that decision. Why the president and CEO is sticking his hands in the football side of the organization outside of hiring the GM is bonkers to me. I don't like it. It's not how it should be. You know, you hire your GM to make those calls and then you tell him what he's going to do. So who's hiring the next head coach? You know, how much pull does O'Day have? If none, why is he there? Fire them all then.
Well, that's it. Like, I understand if there's, but with Dickey on a expiring contract, it doesn't matter. There's no financial obligations to the coach's cap at this point. You're just going to let it run out anyway. I can see a situation where it's going to be, hey, we're going to let him go, just making sure you're okay with it, and then maybe that's all it was. But yeah, that was a weird way to put that in that press conference.
So anyway, we got the news. Craig Dickenson no longer going to be the head coach of this football team. Jeremy O'Day gets to choose his first head coach, which hopefully he's the one that chooses. And Craig Reynolds sticks around, which I think we all kind of felt was going to happen. It was only going to be Dickenson that goes, but I don't think I could get any worse for coaching next year. So that puts me, I feel better about that already. And I don't even know who the new coach is. So I'm already looking forward to next year. So the question is, who should that coach be? And we'll get to that here in just a minute. That's the opening kickoff presented by Kathy Festian of Roy LePage Regina Realty. And here in the Churchill Brewing Company odds and end zones. Okay, guys, 2 questions. Who should the next head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders be? Let's play GM here. You're Jeremy O'Day. You have your list of probably 3 or 5 that you really, really like. Who are they? Who is your number 1?
Ted
Number
Lasso.
1. Go ahead, Greg.
Number 1 is the name that everyone's talking about, Scott Milanovich. We need an offensive head coach. And I think, especially considering he was supposed to coach Trevor Harris in that COVID season that got shut down in Edmonton, I was very interested to see what the Elks could have been underneath that. So I think he's definitely, and you look at what he's done since he took over Hamilton, calling the plays. Hamilton has turned it around. I am very curious to see what he could do in this. If we can bring back the Baines, if we can bring back the Emilises, the Moros, I'm very curious on what he can do.
My biggest issue with Milanovich, and it should worry everybody, he's a sub 500 head coach. 46 and 49 in his career. Outside of his Grey Cup season, he's been average at best. I'd love to see him as the offensive coordinator. I'm not sure I want to see him as a head coach. To me, he's the top tier of your typical old boys club rehires. He's that name that gets thrown around right away. And I know the last time we went out and got the up and coming guy to be the head coach and GM, it went to hell in a handbasket. But I'd like to see us do that again. I think this is the time we've got nothing to lose. We're coming off of 2 garbage seasons. We need to light some hope in the organization and in the market. Get that young up and coming guy. I'm fully on board either the Jordan Maximic train or the Corey Mace train. And I think I prefer the offensive mind, but that's always going to be me. I always prefer an offensive coach. But you need to go to that next guy. See what they can do. And I know Craig Dickenson was, a next guy at one point. I don't think anybody ever expected him to be a head coach in the CFL, but he was that young, next guy, I guess. But I want to see us take a chance on that true up and coming coach that has paid their dues and is the next guy on the list. Let it be here. Why not?
All right. Well, it won't be Henry Burris. It won't be Mark Mueller. It won't be Kerry Joseph, as I've seen some people throw out. It will not be any of them.
Tad Cornegay?
Well, Tad Cornegay
No, he
be
gets
our
vice
president.
president of football ops.
Stop
That
it.
will not
Hi,
be Tad
Jenny.
Cornegay either. Anyway, so who should the coach be? I have Milanovic down at number 4, for being perfectly honest. I put out my list of 5, and number 1 is Jordan Maximic. What he did with Nathan Rourke, what he's doing with Vernon Adams, he's paid his dues as positional coach. He's getting his shot as OC in BC, and they have the best, most explosive offense in the league. They need that. They need that here, and you go with the young guy, and I love that. I would hope that he's at the top of the list. I love Corey Mace. I love Corey Mace. I would not be upset at all if he ended up getting the job. I don't care that he just got an extension in Toronto. You make that phone call because there's still a promotion there waiting for him. And he resonates. He's still such a young guy. He played with half the players on the Argos over with the Stamps. This guy knows how to get the most out of guys that are almost his age, that are basically in that same age group. He knows how to get to these young guys. And it's a different way of coaching now. And the old Don Matthews hard-nosed way, that doesn't fly anymore. You have to find a new way to get to this new generation of players. And I feel Corey Mace has that. And I know somewhere he's going to get a shot in the next couple of years. I'd prefer him to... I don't know. I'd prefer Maximic to him, but I would not be upset by that.
And you mentioned the contract extension. Everybody keeps saying that's your big deterrent, and Toronto did that, so nobody comes calling. Toronto knows people are going to be coming calling. They're locking him in at that level. If somebody wants to give him a promotion, he'll take it, and they'll let him go. But they want to know that next season he is their DC.
No, Red Blacks screwed that up for everybody. Red Blacks, now in order to do that, there has to be an agreement between the two teams, which usually means a trade. Because the Red Blacks got very, very whiny that people were leaving them for promotions.
People
So it's no longer the handshake deal where, hey, there's promotion, you can go. It's not that easy anymore.
And for 8 organizations, it's absolutely still that easy.
Wow, we will see. There's going to be
because
someone,
if you block promotions, we see what's happening in Ottawa now. They're having trouble bringing in staff and bringing in players because their organization decided to be bitter about guys leaving for promotions. Teams aren't going to do that again. If you have that shot to be a head coach, they're going to let you go. Toronto seems like the type of organization, especially that with pinball at the top, that isn't going to hold a guy back. I don't think that's a concern. I think they knew what they were doing when they signed that extension. They said, you're our DC. If you get a promotion, we can talk, but we know we want you here at that level.
And I just looked it up. It looks like the Lions are all on 1-year rotating deals anyway. So Maximic's contract's done at the end of 2023.
You guys make the Ottawa Red Blacks sound like my old employer. How dare you leave us for something better? You have us.
I will never forget that when that happened. I'm like, are you kidding me? That was always the deal in the CFL. If a guy has an opportunity to move up in a position, you let him go. And then they kicking and screaming, you're not taking our guys. It's like, wow.
Okay, who will be the next Riders head coach? We're taking our guesses here. Who is it?
Scott Milanovic. I mean,
It's going to be Scott
as
Milanovic.
much as I hate it, he's the obvious choice, especially in this market. This isn't the market that takes the chance on the young up and comer.
Well, especially you got to think of coming from the guy who's supposed to be hiring him, Jeremy O'Day, who just had 2 back-to-back losing seasons. Him to take a shot on an unproven quantity after being stuck with an unproven quantity, I don't see him doing it. I don't think he's got the cojones.
Yeah.
It'll be Scott Milanovic. Again, not upset by that. I just feel there's a couple that really, really deserve it more. And Steve, to your point about him being, the under 500 as a coach, what coaches above 500 are out there? Mark Trestman?
Please no.
You only bring him in if Anthony Calvillo is still quarterbacking.
Yeah, but name me
I
a
get
good
it.
coach that's out there, right?
I saw
None of them are
somebody
there.
recommend Jeff Reinbold today, and I don't think
No.
I've laughed harder. I love Reinbold as a human being,
He's awesome.
but his years in Winnipeg showed that head coaching is not for him. Maybe that's a special teams coordinator thing. That's where they top out. That's a specific mold. But
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that.
absolutely. And I mean, I don't think he needs the head coaching role. Look at what he does, with Sky Sports, the NFL. He's
Got a great side hustle.
He's
Great side
good.
hustle.
Yeah, he doesn't need all that extra stress, just like Craig didn't need it for snowboarding season. They're going to go with Milanovic. I think we can all pretty much write that down as soon as Hamilton's season is over. We can go ahead and make that call. But I don't know if it's the right one. It's not the scary choice.
Now, Hamilton, that's a discussion as well, too. Do they move Milanovic up to head coach themselves? And keep Orlando Steinauer off the sidelines? Because there could be a succession plan there, the same way that we would assume that there is in Winnipeg. If Kyle Walters isn't brought back as GM, then Mike O'Shea moves up to that role. They have a head coaching opening. You give that to Buck Pierce, who I would absolutely welcome here as well. So maybe there's a knock on Milanovic that way, that maybe he isn't as available as everyone's speculating.
I think that'll depend entirely on how well Hamilton does in the playoffs. And if history suggests anything, it won't go very far. Like we learned a few weeks ago, it's been 60 years since a third place team in the East has made the Grey Cup, let alone won it.
That's wild. That's
I know.
wild to me.
Every time I can bring that stat up, I want to, because that's just absurd to me. That's one of the weird stats in the league. But I think if they make a Grey Cup appearance, I think Orlando Steinauer might keep his job. But if not, that would be the obvious succession plan. And then what? Oh no, we're stuck with Maximic. Oh well.
No, we'd screw that up somehow.
I will say this: just don't make it a special teams coach. Don't make it Mark Killam.
I was going to say the Mark Killam train is now leaving the station.
Well, I mean, his special teams were awful this year in Calgary.
Yeah.
But you look at Bobby Dice, special teams guy, awful coach in Ottawa, great guy, bad head coach. Craig Dickenson, exact same thing here. Jeff Reinbold, same thing. Great.
Mike O'Shea, terrible
Great
coach.
coordinator. Great coordinators, right? But just that's where they top out at, and that's perfectly fine. You need those guys around. Just not here for the head guy. That's all I'm hoping for. But we did want to bring out some of the good stuff this year. It's been a rather negative year here in Riderville, and as we put this season to rest, as we have, Craig Dickenson gave his eulogy. I guess we're going to give our eulogy right now for the 2023 Saskatchewan Roughriders. And it's not a somber moment. We're celebrating. That's what we do. That's what funerals should be about, is celebrating the good times.
Good times.
Like the time.
Sarah McLachlan, I will remember you in the background for this part.
We don't got the money for that.
Do you guys remember when CJ Sims didn't know the rules
I
about the
remember
Rouge and gave the
my
Riders
video.
a win?
Remember my video with the bad recorder playing "My Heart Will Go On" to it.
Just
Uh,
beautiful time. Beautiful time. Thank you, Chris Jones, for not coaching your players up well enough for them to know about the Rouge, giving the Riders one of their 6 wins.
and hey, I want to thank Chris Jones for already announcing that it's going to be an open competition at training camp for their quarterback.
I mean,
He refuses to admit he
theoretically,
made a mistake.
he's right. Nobody should be given their job. You should have to go out and earn it. But at the same time, Taylor Cornelius didn't really earn that job, except your Jarrett Daggy didn't earn that job. Trey Ford did. And he should at least have the upper hand going into training camp, is what should be said. But that's Chris Jones for you. He's the one that signed Taylor Cornelius to that new contract. That's his guy.
And they're still paying the man, which even cracks me up. Like that should have been one of the first contracts off the books. And
I honestly forgot he was still in the league. I don't know why, but I thought he was released weeks ago. I don't know why, but if you want to talk about memories and Chris Jones, how about the week 1 goal line stand and the team actually giving us hope in the defense?
That was
for,
great.
At least a few moments.
Do you remember Darrell
like
Walker's
6 sacks?
touchdown in that game? The design, the offensive design in that by Kelly Jeffrey? That was great. We actually thought, okay, well, if that's what we're going to see out of this offense this year, look out.
Long live the Kelly Jeffrey reign.
Of one game.
Yeah, that was the beginning and the end. But you know what? It was a beautiful story.
yeah, those that burn the brightest, burn the shortest.
Yeah. Nick Marshall. This past game, that was a typical Nick Marshall game. Gets an interception and then gets beat deep and gives up on the play.
My DMs were amazing because there was both the blank Nick Marshall nodding head and blank Nick Marshall shaking head.
And he's one of the free agents. We're going to talk about all the free agents next week. We need something to talk about next week because there's no game to talk about. So we'll do all that, and Nick Marshall is one of them. And I'm pretty sure we're all on the same side on whether the Riders should sign him or not.
Maximum contract.
But remember the interception against Calgary in overtime? In Calgary, too. Giving the Riders, 3 and that put them to 2-1, and then they beat Edmonton the next week. So that was a good time.
That was a good
Trevor
time.
Harris had a good game. That Jamal Morrow absolutely dominated that game.
100%.
There's also the typical annual Grey Cup win on Labor Day.
Yeah.
Always worth celebrating.
And the best thing that happened in that game was the Riders giving up their touchdown in overtime because all they had to do was make one play at the end on the 2-point convert.
I told everyone around me, I'm like, that's a good thing. That is a great thing for us.
You only need one play instead of having to do 3 straight, right? Yeah. So
the game against Brett Lothar, yeah.
Brett Lothar hitting a 54-yard field goal against Ottawa to beat them, a game that they pissed away and somehow managed to still win.
Speaking of which, BC.
Yeah, they tried to give that one away.
They came out fired up because you made that song about them.
And I got absolutely ripped on that.
Little did we know you were just ahead of your time.
Yes.
What about all the good spots in the second half of the season?
Well, there was that
crickets
time where
they gave us rings.
Only 1 per account.
Yeah.
I love how much that's riled people up. People are mad about that.
People are more mad about 1 ring than the team's record, which cracks me up even more.
Just get separate accounts now.
That's what I did finally this year. I split my 3 tickets into 3 accounts. Yeah. I've had them in my name since 2006. Not anymore.
Pay them with whatever credit card. It doesn't matter. You could pay somebody else's. Steve, you could pay mine if you wanted.
No, I can't. I can barely pay mine.
Okay, we'll get Greg to pay for it then.
There we go.
I gotta be able to work to make money.
It's a good question asking about the good times in the second half. We got
Bowling.
Shormacon. That was excellent.
Well,
Ooh. I got to play bubble soccer at IG
You
Field.
did. You were
That
on the
was fun.
field at the same time with Chris Strevler.
Chris
That was
Strevler,
good times.
yeah.
Oh, I wish I would have known. I would have accidentally on purpose bowled him over, and it would have been glorious. I probably would have been ejected, but it would have been worth it.
And who can forget the time they went bowling? To enjoy each other's company one more time. One last week. What
I
a
look
year
forward
here in
to our
Vancouver.
live. I look forward to our live bowling episode.
So I'm going to peel back the curtains here a little bit. I said after this game, we should go bowling for our next episode. I think that would be funny. Then Greg decided to have surgery and
Yes.
put him out of commission for a while.
Nothing
Least
good
a
ever
month.
happens with Greg in this
Least a
podcast.
month.
Jeez.
I did say that.
Oh, I don't know
He
what you
did
said,
say-
Alex. You did say something.
We need. You know what we need to do? We need to get like the Jeopardy music for when somebody cuts out. do do do.
And don't get me wrong, I was all for
do,
bowling,
do.
but yes, unfortunately, I am on the shelf for the foreseeable future due to emergency surgery. I am fine. Did we just hear him?
There we go.
There he's back.
Unbelievable. Jeez.
You
I
were
turned the
you were
wi-
just saying. You're just
Yeah.
saying, and then you just.
I love that. You literally said, "I said," and we're like, "We'll never know what he said."
No.
Yeah.
Rider
know what
Nation can
happened there.
tell us
Sorry
what you
about
said.
And then I turned the Wi-Fi off on my phone, which is sitting beside me, and then this works again. So
Weird.
I don't know. I don't understand technology, man.
Either
Hey,
do
at
I.
least
I
you're not an
think
IT
we can do
guy.
Yeah. But anyway, I think we should still go bowling. That'd be
Oh, we're
a
definitely
good
going
way to
bowling.
end this year. A fitting way to send off the Riders is we should go bowling and have a pizza party, and maybe someone will bring their dog.
Maybe
That'll
maybe
be-
that'll be our special edition Grey Cup week.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah,
Right,
Let's do that. Yeah, we'll go bowling. That'll be great. Yeah. So we put to rest the Riders 2023 season. Disappointing for sure. Upsetting, very frustrating. But I think we can look forward to a new future with a new head coach. And I'm really excited to see who that is going to be. I'm expecting it to be Milanovic. I'm not upset by that. Either way, it should be a good future going forward. And hopefully they're calling people right now. They called him yesterday, called him the day before, and are finding their next guy.
If anything, it's going to be a different voice in the room, which is probably going to help.
Well, it'll be a voice that's actually in the room, which will help because we know
That-
Craig Dickenson didn't like to go in the room.
Yep.
That's the player's space.
And Greg, I know you're upset by this, but I know we have a lot of followers up in the Saskatoon area that listen to the show, watch the show. Congratulations to
Saskatoon.
the Saskatoon Hilltops beating the Thunder in the PFC Championship, and what was a pretty good game.
Very tight game. I watched the whole game. It was on
Which
my
is-
CJFL TV account, which
And
It
you
was-
expect that from these two teams, right? Like it was.
it was back and
No.
forth. It was
Yeah.
back and forth. Like the Thunder had the lead going into the fourth, and Hilltops were just better for about 5 minutes, and that's all they needed, and they wrote it out. So
Davidson had that huge touchdown run, and that was the difference in the game. That was it was a good season by the Thunder, of course. Good season by the Hilltops, and the Hilltops now are going to host the Ontario Football Conference's St. Clair Saints on Sunday in the national semifinal.
it's going to be a mollywhopping.
The
Ontario-
Hilltops are going to crash them.
Ontario is never good. I'm sorry. I know some players in the OFC conference. The Ontario conference is terrible. There's a reason why the Canadian Bowl is always between BC and the PFC.
And I don't know, is it going to be the Okanagan Sun again?
It's West Shore versus the Okanagan Sun this weekend. West Shore actually is also a very good team, and I believe they actually have the Suns' number this season. So They're basically the BC's versions of the Thunder Hilltops. So that one's a coin flip, but I think West Shore's probably going to take it.
And the championships in BC, is that right?
That is the winner of the BC game hosts. That's
Hosts.
why the Hilltops are hosting the OFC. So
Got it. So from most of us here, good luck to the Hilltops. I know, Greg,
Nope.
you won't
Can't do it.
completely go
Can't
that
do it.
route.
can do it.
Good luck to the Hilltops this Sunday against St. Clair. Well, there's no Riders. I mean, the season's still going on, and there's 3 games this week.
And there's no sport. There's no lines because no one knows who's
nothing.
playing.
Yeah, these games mean nothing, and I feel bad for the league trying to market these 3 games. How do you go to any kind of fans and say, "Hey, please watch these 3 games"?
Nothing to play for.
Yeah, and I think that was like they're already. I know they're trying to market the East and the West semifinals already, but I'm like, guys, you still have to try to hype up this weekend just to keep people's interest for one more week going into the playoffs, so they don't forget about the playoffs in 2 weeks. It's 3 exhibition games. We'll make coin flip picks, I guess, here. The first game is Winnipeg at Calgary, even with backups probably playing for both teams. Yeah, I'm going to say Winnipeg wins. There's no lines, like you said, so make up a spread. I'll take Winnipeg.
Winnipeg should win, and it should be a boring football game. It's going to be one of those vanilla offenses all week long. Nobody's going to show anything, especially this game and Hamilton-Montreal. Those are potential matchups.
Yep.
They're not going to show each other a darn thing. It's going to be as basic a game plan as you can put together. Just get through it healthy. And it's a real shame because if there was an East final on the line and Hamilton-Montreal meant something, that could have been a fun little battle to, winner hosts the rematch. That'd be delightful. But no, they mean nothing.
I don't know. If I had to borrow some parlance from Doug Brown, the Winnipeg is looking a little chicken. Mm-mm. So I think Calgary's
they earn the right to do that, though.
Oh, okay.
I saw him say that. They earn the right to do that.
Okay.
Which
Toronto didn't, though.
Toronto didn't do that 4 weeks ago. Okay, sure.
Okay. No, actually, I think Calgary is going to try to keep some momentum going in. It doesn't matter if it's a meaningless game or not. I think Calgary wants to at least look like they can be competitive. So I think Calgary's going to come in with a little more fire than Winnipeg. I think Calgary's going to.
Nothing would be more CFL than the 4-11 Calgary Stampeders going on a winning streak and making the playoffs and winning the Grey Cup. I would love to see any other team but Calgary in that position do that. I hope Calgary is a one and done, but how CFL would that be for them to squeak into the playoffs and then go on a little streak? They'd have to beat the teams that they're going to play to get there.
Yeah. Which is actually really impressive.
If they can squeak in the playoffs and at least punch Winnipeg in the mouth, I will come wearing a red hat the following podcast. I'm not buying Stamps merch, but I will wear something red because I would love nothing more than Winnipeg just to be shut up for once.
I'll join you. I have a red and white hat. It's I won't say what company it is.
It's got a kernel on it.
It's they fry up chicken in the States. But it's from the 1984 Grey Cup in Edmonton. So really weird that would be a red and white hat.
I've ever seen.
It's so awesome. The only thing to watch in this game is how long Brady Oliveira plays, because he's 2 yards away rushing from 1,500 and I think 50 scrimmage yards away from 2,000.
Yeah.
And to me, if he gets those, he's slam dunk for MOP.
From the Winnipeg voters. Winnipeg voters are going to put Claros out there. You know it.
Yeah, he'll be the MOP.
They'll get the
Canadian.
Yeah, MOC. Yeah. It's like, they already got an award for the Canadians. No, he's your most outstanding player. Make him your most outstanding player.
Who is it from the West that gets it? Is it Matthew Betts or is it Brady Oliveira? If Oliveira gets 2,000 yards, but
it's Oliveira.
Betts has the single season record for sacks by a Canadian, though.
Won't matter.
Fancy
Oliveira
stats,
getting
fancy
near
stats
2,000
always
all-purpose
trump a
yards.
defense.
It'll be Brady, and it won't be close. It should be close, and it should be Betts, but it won't be.
Betts will get most outstanding defensive player.
Yep.
More than likely, at least from the West anyway. Second game of the week, Hamilton at Montreal. Again, would be pretty interesting to see what they do, just because we know that's the exact matchup next week in the semifinal, Hamilton at Montreal. This is going to be a preseason game. They are not going to use anything that they have planned for the semifinal. This is going to be the most vanilla offenses. You might see a couple blitzes here and there. Like, it's going to be a boring game.
60 minutes of kneel downs and punting.
It might as well be, honestly. I think Hamilton has more to gain by keeping their starters in than Montreal does, just because Levi Mitchell hasn't really played a lot since coming back. It's been a tandem with him and Matthew Schultz. So I don't know, maybe he was just managing reps for Bo until they get to the playoffs, but I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that kind of shakes out, how long each of them plays. But otherwise, whatever, I'll take Montreal.
I don't know who's going to win this one, but I can tell you who's going to lose, and it's going to be anybody watching, looking for exciting football. Because it's just going to be 60 minutes of nothing. And again, come out healthy. Sure, I'll take Montreal just for fun. I'll take Hamilton just for fun, just to be the adversary on that.
You're not going out boring Montreal, so Montreal.
And the final game of the year, Toronto at Ottawa. Ottawa can play whoever they want. They're going to lose. Toronto's backups they're a deep team. They're a very deep team. They'll win. I don't care who they're playing.
Yeah, this one's easy.
And they'll go and tie the CFL record for wins in a year at 16-2. They got a little bit to play for, because that's a thing they'd probably want to hit. The backups especially.
Actually, I was talking to some of the Argo fans that came here for the game this past weekend. We went out with a bunch of them Saturday night, had some drinks, and I said to them, I hope you guys run the table. I hope you get 16-2 and win the Grey Cup, because nobody's done that before with that record. 16-2 and a Grey Cup, you can argue is the greatest team of all time.
No.
So if they can go out there and do that, I mean, you can say goodbye to Edmonton and their 16-2 record in 89. And this would be arguably the greatest team of all time. So for something like that, I kind of want to see. Also, to be fair, I want to see Montreal win the Grey Cup, just so Jason Moss and Cody Fajardo. I like chaos, you guys. Like,
I can't take that much pain.
Could you, the uproar that would happen if that were to come true? Like, oh man.
Here, you know what I just realized? Since you just brought up the 1989 Edmonton team. Imagine if Hamilton, this was the year the East, third team in the East, makes the Grey Cup. Because that's going to be an exact run back of the 89 Grey Cup then.
Yep. Beat the 16-2 team.
Yep.
Yep.
Third place. So.
Yeah. So that's a week of pretty boring games. I hope they're good though, because I'm going to have them on. It's just a matter of whether I'm paying attention to them or not.
I'll have them on because I'm a degenerate. So.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Give me football. I don't care.
And
bad football, good football. We're Rider fans. We're used to bad football.
One more Rider-related note, actually, before we leave, is Daniela Ponticelli leaving Saskatchewan. She announced that doing the post-game show for CKRM, that was going to be her last one, as she's moving out east.
So good for Daniela. Hey, the worst part about being Regina, it's a stepping stone for anyone with any true talent. So their time here is short. Like look at the people that have gone through here, like Julie Stewart Binks, Claire Hanna. Like it's it's not hard for anyone that's really good to move on out of Regina. So I look forward to see what her career brings.
If you've watched anything with her career, it's been an absolute skyrocket over the last few years. She was the first female announcer for a WHL game a few weeks ago. You know, it sucks for Regina. She was great on the post-game show. As somebody who drives Uber on the weekends, it was I got a good chance to listen to most of those post-game shows, and she made them entertaining despite, over the last 2 years, not a lot of fun to talk about. It was still worth listening to, and it was a good show. And we'll definitely miss her around this city. And I'm curious where that post and pregame show will go next year, because it definitely has been a positive over the last couple of years.
Well, and
Piffles post game.
Even if we don't apply, somebody will say we did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not privy to any of the information, what she may or may not be doing out there. But I have a weird feeling that there's a new professional women's hockey league starting out with a team in Toronto that could probably use someone of Daniela's experience. So I hope that's might be one of the things that's potentially considered. Again, that's honestly just a guess on my end. I know nothing about that. That's just my hopes. But we're all going to wish her the best. And I think it's going to come down to, we don't know what we had here in Saskatchewan until it's gone. And I feel that's what it's going to be with Daniela Ponicelli, because she was fantastic at her job, doing the sideline reporting and then doing pre and post game shows. So Daniela, we wish you the best. I know we'll be in talks. We'll see her again before she ends up fully moving on out east, as they'll be making one more stop here in Regina. So, but other than that, we do put to rest the 2023 Saskatchewan Roughriders season on a good note, because Craig Dickinson's gone, you guys. I'm so happy about that. I've said it, and I will continue to say it, and I will always say it. Great man, great person. Craig Dickenson is just an awful head coach.
It feels bad dancing on somebody's career
right?
grave, but you don't want. It's hard. You don't want to celebrate it, but you have to at this point. You have to look at the positives that have come from the last few weeks and go, there's hope for next year. Yes, it comes at the cost of his job. He'll be fine. Somebody's going to hire him as a special teams coordinator before he can blink. And
I wouldn't be surprised if he's over in Calgary, to be honest.
Yeah, he's got no connections over there. Won't be there.
Yeah.
My guess is actually.
You think Chris Jones is going to hire him? Why?
How do you think he got the head coaching job?
Well, he owes Chris Jones, I guess.
Yeah, and Chris Jones he hired him to be the special teams guy here.
You think he's going to hire him again?
Why wouldn't he? Good special teams guy. He clearly likes the guy. He did enough to sign him for 2 years before he ran out the door.
And let's face it, Edmonton's special teams obviously were not coached up properly. Sims/CJ. So I don't know. He'll land on his feet.
He'll be somewhere next year for sure. Yeah. Just glad it's not as a head coach here. Yeah. But that will do it for us here this week on the Piffles podcast. I'm looking forward to next week when we start looking at free agents, and then keepers of this team. And also, when does Jeremy O'Day start re-signing some of these guys? Because, it kind of depends on does your head coach, who you don't have yet, even want these guys around? So I'm really excited to see how this is all going to shape out for the Riders. The sooner they can figure out their coaching situation, the better. At least in terms of the head coach. Not too worried about the assistants yet, and who the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators are going to be. Just get that head coach ready in place, and you can start building a team from there. And that's what I'm looking forward to. But until then, This is the Piffles podcast, of course, brought to you by our great friends at Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sass Drive in Regina. Special thanks always go out to Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Regina Realty and Churchill Brewing Company for their support making the show possible. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on YouTube or SaskTel Max. This is Ghost Behind Your Mind by Tyler Gilbert.